By Reclaiming My Life. The views expressed on the program may not reflect the opinions of WBTK, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Domestic violence, grief, sexual abuse, homelessness, drug addiction, promiscuity, hope for help, depression, business are just some of the subjects discussed today on Reclaiming My Life with the author of Amazon's #1 best-selling book, Reclaiming My Life. Here's television and radio host Claudia Massey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today on Memorial Day. Let me tell you, God is good. You know, we are saying happy Memorial Day, but today may not be a happy day for many. You know, a lot of times we don't really realize the meaning of the days. You know, so at this time, I would like to take a moment of silence for our fallen soldiers and their families. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Today on Reclaiming My Life, I have the beautiful co-author of Reclaiming My Life, Amazon's #1 best-selling book, Miss Trimika Cooper, who is also the visionary author of her book, 4M's Muted from Molestation That Manifested Mentally. Look, May is a busy month. Look, it's Memorial Day. In May, we also have Military Appreciation. May is Military Appreciation Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And May is also Lupus Awareness Month. So today I have the beautiful Miss Trimika Cooper also. Look, I'm going to keep going, y'all. She got so much going on. She's also co-host of the Reclaiming My Life podcast. Look, she is on here today to represent all Lupus Warrior. She is a Lupus Warrior. And when I say she is a warrior, she is my shero. She is my shero. Yes. This woman right here, when I say that she goes through many challenges with lupus and in her life. But I tell you, she get up every day and make it happen. She is a woman of strength. She is a chain breaker. I feel like I'm reading her bio, y'all. Y'all got to know by now. This is my sister, friend. I don't need no notes. Welcome, Trimika.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you so much.
Yes, beautiful. You are welcome. Look, we on here today. We're going to talk about lupus and how it affects mental health. So 2 in 1. So if you would just let our listeners know just a little bit about yourself. I know I gave them a good bit right there, you know, and when you were diagnosed with lupus and how it affects you. I'm going to just leave it open for you to talk to our listeners today.
Okay. So again, my name is Trimika Cooper. I am a mother of 4, grandmother of 3. I am married to the handsome Janatus Cooper. I am also a full-time assistant director at a childcare facility. And I also have co-author of numerous books with Claudia. And I also have a t-shirt line called Faith, Family, and Fabulous Hair. And now I'm working on my crochet blankets now. So going into lupus, I was diagnosed in 2021. And I had been having symptoms for about maybe 10 years, and no one could really diagnose me. They didn't know what was going on. And then back in, I think February 2021, my knees and my legs started swelling really bad. And the doctors didn't know what was going on. It was to the point where I could barely walk. They finally said, okay, let's check your ANA levels. And my ANA levels were very high, going towards into lupus, you know, saying that it was lupus. And so they sent me to rheumatology, and took me months, I think 6 months to even get an appointment there. So once I got an appointment with rheumatology, they also said that, you know, that that I have systemic lupus, SLE, and rheumatoid arthritis, which I have a really bad case of rheumatoid arthritis. Um, I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease and thyroid disease, which now I have 3, 4 autoimmune diseases.
Mhm.
And then about 2 months ago, I was diagnosed with first stage, stage one kidney disease, lupus-induced kidney disease is what they called it. So I've been, pretty much going through a little bit, about a year ago, actually April made a year that I lost almost the majority of my teeth from lupus. Started out with mouth ulcers, dry mouth, to the point where it gave me really bad gum disease and I lost my teeth. So lupus is really it's a what they call a silent disease or invisible
Mhm.
disease, but it shows. It shows. And it shows mentally as well. It's a mental struggle, thinking day to day, how can I even go through this pain and go to work? How can I get up and be a mom, be a wife? It's really hard. And I'm not gonna say that I never had suicidal thoughts, but my thoughts would be, would I be better off not here?
Mhm.
Because there's not a day that goes by that I'm not in some form of pain, whether it be, from the rheumatoid arthritis in my hands and my knees, or just the muscle pains, or just the migraines from the lupus. Um, and the hardest thing is sometimes family don't really understand, so when you got a good support system, which I really do, and I thank God for them, it's amazing because it's to the point now they can look at me and say, go lay down. They can tell that I'm not feeling well. But a lot of people don't have that support, you know, and that's my prayer for anyone that has any kind of autoimmune disease, chronic illness and pain, that that God will give them some form of support system, give them some comfort and understanding, because it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yes, yes. And even in this moment, and of course, I know you very well. I know your story and all, and even still, just listening to you, it touches my heart, and I have so much empathy for you. And of course, my daughter, Whitney Brooks, I did ask her to join us as well, but she's not feeling well today. She too has lupus. And I'm seeing firsthand, because a lot of times, people can't empathize with you because they don't understand the disease, they don't,
Hmm.
you can say, oh, I'm hurting. And in their mind, okay, you have like, it's like a headache hurting. I'm hurting.
Right.
Oh, you have a headache. You're okay, but they really don't understand. And, honestly, with me having sickle cell and knowing what a sickle cell crisis feel like, nobody can understand that. It doesn't matter
Right.
how much I say, I'm in pain today or I'm tired today, just symptoms, from having sickle cell,
Hmm.
and still people just constantly want to, well, can you do this? Can you do that? Because you look fine. Because, girl, you look gorgeous, honey. We
Thank
can't
you.
tell anything is going on with you. But I know firsthand, because me knowing you so well, I know even when I get ready to embrace you not so tight, because I'm a tight hugger, because I can look at you and say, Mika, you hurting. You
Mhm.
hurting today, you know, and how can we educate the people to be more aware of lupus and the symptoms of lupus? And all, you have mentioned already kidney disease, losing your teeth, just not feeling well overall. You have mentioned a lot of things, and you were just diagnosed just 4 years ago. And I've seen what you've gone through in just 4 years. So, how can we become more aware?
So the thing is, whenever I was first diagnosed, I didn't know anything about lupus. I didn't even know
Hmm.
anybody that had lupus. So it's really hard to even get educated about it when, you've never heard of it. So right recently, I have been seeing a lot of stuff, people posting, Facebook, with lupus. And I've joined a couple of lupus, groups, for support and for education. as well, because like I said, no person has the same symptoms. They may have
Right.
some of the same symptoms, but no person's story is the same.
Mm-hmm.
I've been taking medication for the past 4 years, and my body has rejected the majority of all of them. And then they want to give you more and more medication. And I'm like, tell me something about this medication, because you're giving me stuff and it's added on to the symptoms that I already have. Education in lupus is very hard to get, and
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the education that I received, I had to look it up myself. It's
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes even your rheumatologists don't even understand what you're going through, and you're looking at them and they're looking at you like, well, maybe it's just joint pain. No, this is a different kind of pain.
Yes. A
So
different kind of
some
pain.
people, a different kind of pain, even with my migraines, it's a different kind of pain. I can't stand the light. I can't stand the sunlight, the sounds. It's just
Mm-hmm.
really, really different. And now I'm taking infusions, and I had my second one last Monday, and it sent me in the hospital because my body
Wow.
thought that the medicine that they gave me was invading my system, and it started fighting against it, and it went
Mm-hmm.
straight to my kidneys. So
Yes.
I mean, education is really hard, but the more I speak to others that have lupus or even chronic illness, I've learned a lot from others, that's dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with.
Yes. And also, I'm going to speak for Whitney for a moment. To see her every day, and most days she's struggling to the
Mm-hmm.
point, she has a 7-year-old, and sometimes, he's just, leaning on her, want to be up under her, and she said, it hurts, just
It
any
hurt.
kind of pressure on your body, even from a small child. But I will say, how we can bring more awareness is being on these kind of platforms, being on
Yes.
these platforms, and talking to the listeners and the viewers and making them more aware, and encouraging you all to, study before it happens. When you hear, oh well, I'm not aware, I'm not educated about lupus or sickle cell and so forth. Now is the time to educate yourself. Don't wait until a loved one have lupus or is diagnosed
Correct.
with lupus, because as Trimika said, she had had symptoms for about 10 years. So when you educate yourself, when you hear these kind of testimonies, then you can say, you know what, it could be lupus, because
Mm-hmm.
you've been educated. So, Trimika, I want to ask you, how do you maintain your sanity and get up? And I'm gonna have to say, and get up, because Trimika and myself, we're both co-authors in the Girl Get Up book, and that's a book about women who have autoimmune diseases, chronic illnesses, and pain. With visionary author of the book, Whitney Brooks, and she was inspired to do the book because she was constantly telling herself every day, although she was in pain, girl, get up. Get up.
Yeah.
You have something to do. Your child needs you. Your business needs you. I need myself. Girl, get up. So, how do you encourage yourself and maintain your sanity, Trimika, and get up every day?
Claudia, that's a hard one because sometimes your body don't want you to get up at all. And there's mornings that my husband had to push me over
Mm,
for me to even sit up on the edge of the bed. That's how bad the pain is. And you lay there, you pray, God, give me the strength because I still have bills. And to be honest, it is very hard to get disability with lupus. Disability wants you to be out of work for a year or so. Who can afford that? Who
mhm.
can afford that? So, I have to get up. I have to get up. And I thank God for giving me the strength and keeping me sane, because there's some days I don't want to do anything. And with me
Mhm.
working with children, children can sense when something is wrong with you. So when I get up and I pray, Lord, just give me the strength to make it through this day, and I get to work, I press on, and by the time I get home, I cannot even get out of my truck some days. I'm in so
My
much pain.
God.
So it's
Mm,
like the more, I try to move my body because I know once I stop, it's just at a standstill, and it's like the pain is like, you ain't going nowhere, and
Yes.
it'll catch you off guard, So, and people don't realize that. And like you said earlier, you told me I look beautiful, and I thank you. But you know what? My grandma used to always say, when you don't feel good, try to put something on, put a little bit of rouge on your cheeks and some lipstick. Maybe you'll feel a little bit better. And half the time it don't work. But like people say, the first thing they say, well, you don't look sick. But if you only knew how I felt on the inside, even though I don't look sick, I have a chronic illness. And like you said, most people are not educated about it, and they don't understand it.
Yes.
They really
Trimika, I know. Yes, I definitely know. Yes. You know what? Thank you so much, Trimika, for being here today on Reclaiming My Life, and, bringing awareness to it. This is Lupus Awareness Month. Thank you so much. You know what? I would love for you to give our listeners information on how they can connect with you, even if they want to send you a message of prayer, encouragement, words of encouragement, how they can connect with you to purchase your books. Like you said, you have several, I know 5 or 6 books. We can't even name them all, y'all. She's a blessed woman. Even in her pain, she persevered. I told y'all she's a woman of strength. Y'all hear it right here. So please give them your information, how they can connect with you.
You can connect with me on Cooper's Creations 39 at Gmail if you want to purchase a book, or you can even go to trimikasbook.net and purchase a book. You can also find me on Facebook at Minister Trimika Cooper and on TikTok at Trimika Unmuted.
All right now, Trimika Unmuted. And look, and also, if y'all want to book her for any speaking engagement, she is a phenomenal speaker. She's a minister. I told you I can go on and on and on about her. This is my sister friend. I love you so much, Trimika. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here today.
Love you too, Claudia. Thank you so much.
Yes, you are so welcome. Look, and to our listeners, y'all have an amazing day. An amazing week ahead. Stay safe. And until next week, remember, I love you, and I'll see you then.
You have just heard Reclaiming My Life with life coach and author Claudia Massey. To get your copy of Amazon's #1 best-selling book, Reclaiming My Life, visit www.contactclaudiamassey.com and tune in each Monday at 12 noon for Reclaiming My Life with television and radio host Claudia Massey on WBTK 1380.
Radio Poder te trae la enseñanza de hoy con Arlene Guzmán.
Un hombre iba por un camino con un pesado costal de papas sobre sus espaldas.